The following content is sponsored and does not necessarily reflect the views of WATD Radio. Now, Paul Ponders on 95.9 WATD. Be a part of the show. Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's your host, Paul Solano.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome and thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD, presented by Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus, where they have fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors. My name is Paul Solano of the PS&All Marketing Group, and this is season number 2, show number 26. Thank you, studio audience. Absolutely, thank you. Season number 2, show number 26. Love those numbers, 26 on 6/6/26. And this show is happening right now. And if you're traveling down to Cape Cod, you're sitting in traffic, and you're a new listener to this show, welcome. And for those of you who have heard me before, welcome back, and really thank you for listening. I'm excited to bring you another great season with my network of very knowledgeable contributors. We will continue to keep it real, hot and timely, South Shore and Cape and the Islands based, North Shore reference, but definitely full of Paul pondering thoughts. Now, as you probably already know, I also wear another hat as general manager of Pearl Street Station Restaurant in Malden, and a huge shout out to Chef Felipe Fitzpatrick and his culinary team. Chef Felipe is a loyal listener through the Odyssey app. So hello to Chef Felipe. And as always, we have lots of activity going on today at Pearl Street Station with a couple of birthday gatherings, an 80th birthday tonight, and a lot of party pans going out, and we're prepping for a huge week in front of us as we start planning our World Cup soccer events. So I know I always say it, but it is true. As Malden's longest-running restaurant of 40 years, we have incredible staying power in the greater Boston area and the North Shore. Please venture over the Zakin Bridge, and as my daughters say, the godforsaken bridge, and come visit us. Now, Chef Felipe, you were making that pulled pork the other day. It was delicious, as always. But then you talked about the pork and vinegar peppers you want to put with those red roasted bliss potatoes. So we'll hopefully be having that on special this week. So we'll work on getting that. And, of course, I always give a shout-out to my team of Chef Felipe, Chef Joaquin, Pizziola, Moose, John, Jen, Nicole, Don, for holding down the fort on this very, very busy day. As I stated earlier, this is season number 2, show number 26, and it is an absolute honor and pleasure to be on WATD in the slot of The Boiling Point with Arthur Boyle. Arthur is my executive consultant of the Paul Ponders radio show, and Arthur is out there adding to our list of sponsors and seasonal sponsors. And I believe that Crystal Pools will be coming back next week. We will check back with that. But again, Arthur, I wish you a happy birthday last week, and again, happy birthday this past week. And actually, I had the honor of, in fact, presenting the Arthur and Margaret Boyle Family Scholarship at the Malden High School Awards night the other night. I pinch hit for Arthur at the last minute. And it was just so much fun being on stage, being there, and also just presenting the Boyle Family Scholarship, especially given the Boyle, the Arthur Sr. and Peg Boyle history and dedication to the city of Malden and Malden High School. It was an absolute honor to be on stage presenting that. And while we're on the subject of Boyles and all, Dave Boyle has a birthday coming up next Saturday on the 13th. So if you see Dave Boyle, chairman of the Pembroke School Committee around town, wish him a happy birthday for next Saturday. And also, I want to give shout-outs. We have a lot of listeners up in the Malden, Medford area. I'm always talking up WATD. We have a lot of new listeners. And I want to give a special shout-out to friends Quentin and Obi, who we had a great chat last night about music, about the band Extreme, and so Norman Greenbaum, and it was a wide array of topics of conversation. Also, a shout out to Quentin and Obi, and thank you for your years of loyalty to Pearl Street Station Restaurant. So hello there, Quentin and Obi, if you're listening, and I believe you are. Hello. And with us behind the glass is Tim.
Good afternoon, Paul.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good.
Awesome.
Good. Yeah.
You raced in again with that great music.
Yes, I did.
Great sound.
Yes. Yeah, lots of racing going on. And speaking of Norman Greenbaum, we had a great NASCAR legend go up to the Spirit in the Sky. I believe I think it was Thursday or yesterday, but NASCAR legend and father of Dale Jarrett, Ned Jarrett, who was a racer in his own right before you saw him on TV. If you watched NASCAR back in the 90s, right up to 2000, I think, it was, boy, talk about NASCAR being all over the place trying to watch it. It was on ESPN, it's on ABC, TBS, TNN, but he was part of the ESPN crew. He'd be in the booth with Benny Parsons and Bob Jenkins. You'd have Dr. Jerry Punch on pit road. But he left us at the age of 93 years old.
Wow.
Natural causes, no nasty diseases or anything, but he'll be greatly missed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah.
And you're doing a great job behind the glass, as
Thank
always.
you.
We had a nice chat about Pearl Street Station Restaurant before we went on the show, and I'm glad you had a chance to check out our menu.
Yeah, it's a nice website. If you haven't checked it out yet, please, everyone, go check it out. And prices are decent. I always look at those. I think everybody does. Yep. It's like, do I really want to drive up there for this? And I think it's worth the trip.
Well, the shrimp scampioli awaits you.
Yes, I saw that on the menu. And and the desserts and just all kinds of stuff. I was like, oh boy.
Absolutely. And speaking of desserts, it's funny. I was in Hoff's Bakery yesterday, and I was chatting with Kelly, and I'm friends with the Frittoras, who are the owners of Hoff's Bakery, and we get our tiramisu from them, and it is to die for. It's the best in the market, along with that triple layer chocolate cake. So I was telling Kelly, who's one of their managers, about the show, and she said, I've heard of that radio station down there in the South Shore, and I'm going to listen. So I said, well, Paul Pond is at 1208.
All right.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Well, Tim, behind the glass, I thank you, and we are getting you closer and closer to coming up for karaoke as well on Friday or Saturday night.
Yeah, get a bunch of us. This is used lightly, a dumpster folks, because the station does stand for We're at the Dump. All of us get up there for some good times and some good singing, hopefully. Hopefully it's not too much scarioke.
I hear you. Well, as I used to say, the only note I could carry is the one to the principal's office.
Oh, well, hopefully not too many times.
I know it, seriously. Well,
Mr.
it was Mr. Boyle. I know it was Mr. Boyle's office at Malden High.
Oh, boy.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, Tim, behind the glass, thank you. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Well, at this part of the program, we have the Pod Pro Techie Toolbox segment with Techie Talonzo Amos and Miss Shelley Wolf, global media firm, owner of Toolbox Entertainment, Vice President of Technology and Literacy for Pod Pro, and a past Paul Ponders guest, episode number 35 of the 89 episodes that I've dropped so far. So with us on the line from somewhere, it looks like Philadelphia, Shelley Wolf.
Hey, Paul. How you doing today?
I am doing well, thanks. Living the dream as always.
Yes, I hear that. So
absolutely.
I was telling Tim, we're having a heat stroke up here, no rain up here, so I think I could use a little bit of rain.
Oh my! Wow. Well,
up in the 90s these days.
It's a scorcher, as we say up here in Boston, right?
Yep, exactly.
Well, you're on the road again, but as always, as I always claim, that you are a very popular part of the Paul Ponders radio show. We post your helpful techie tips and myth of the week on our blog, on the PS&All Marketing Group blog, and you are just a big hit. So, Shelley, without further ado, please take it away.
Well, thank you, Paul. Today we are going to actually focus on and start a kind of a series. So I'm going to bounce in and out of a series over the coming weeks around AI and how it affects our everyday lives, what it really is and what it really isn't. So I really want to start when we think and we hear the words artificial intelligence or AI, a lot of emotions come up for so many of us. Some people get excited, some people are nervous, some people feel overwhelmed. There seems to be a sense of fear, and many people think, I don't even use AI, or how does it affect me? So what I really want to do is kind of break down some things and let people know, first of all, we're all using AI in some fashion and interacting with it every single day and often not even realizing it. So today's tech tip is really to start that series and start thinking about how to keep our lives safe, simple, and smart. And we're beginning with the basics. So what is AI actually, and why understanding it really matters? So in plain English, AI is what we call artificial intelligence. Sounds complicated, but at its core, AI is simply a technology designed to recognize patterns, learn from information, make predictions, and help automate tasks. It's not the robot that's going to take over the world. Most AI is actually very narrowly focused. And for example, recommending music, filtering those spam emails, helping with navigation, suggesting what movie to watch next. It's built from those algorithms, right? AI is essentially software that can make decisions, that's trying to make decisions or predictions based on data that it's already been given, right? So we've talked about in the past, like we give up so much of our personal information, just whether we're on social media, through scrolling, through clicking and different things like that. So again, that's all data that's been, these predictions are being based on. Places where you're already using AI every day, as I mentioned, is that it's consistently there without us realizing it. So voice assistants, those that have Siri or an Alexa in their house, their GPS and how it reroutes traffic, those spam blockers, emails or phone messages where you start to type in and it'll already say, oh, hello, Paul. And it just pulls it up automatically. It's understanding, it's recognizing that data, and it's populating it. Netflix or YouTube recommendation, online shopping suggestions, predictive texting, and fraud alerts, right? Even customer service chats have chat systems today that are all AI-driven. So AI isn't something far away from future technology. It is here already in our day-to-day life. And that tech myth we're going to jump into is AI is basically a human brain. AI, and the truth is, AI doesn't think or feel like we do. It works by, again, analyzing those patterns, processing large amounts of information, and predicting those likely responses. AI can sound conversational, but what it does not have are those emotions and intentions and personal understandings. And that's a really important distinction that we need to think about. That AI can be helpful, and it's a remarkable tool, but again, it is still a tool, and it's one of the healthiest ways to think about AI, that it is that tool that we use, and it's how we use it and who's using it and what information it has. AI can help us with that organizing, writing, accessibility. That's one thing that AI, I think, really has given us is a lot of accessibility, translation, learning, scheduling. But again, it does make mistakes. It gives outdated information. It does have biases. It can sound confident even when wrong, and that's where our human judgment still matters, and we have to be participatory in the process of using AI. Don't be afraid. We just need to be aware. A lot of fear around AI comes from, again, that misunderstanding. And again, the goal isn't to avoid technology because, again, it's not going anywhere. It's just ingrained in everything we're using. The goal is truly understanding, asking those questions, and using it thoughtfully and honestly. Most people don't need to become the AI experts that they think they need to become. They don't need to fear technology. I kind of also think about it as computers were coming out. There was that fear of how I'm going to use it. Am I going to break it? AI, none of this is breakable, right? It's just, again, how understanding how to use it. We just need those basic awarenesses. So I'm going to try over the coming weeks to really provide those tools for us. And now one thing I can say is that AI is becoming more conversational. One big shift that's happening right now is AI tools can become easier to talk to. Programs like companies like OpenAI or Anthropic allow people to ask questions in plain language and receive those conversational responses. There was an ad earlier on the station talking about how some of these organizations are trying to slow things down and put legislation in to slow things down. Probably not going to happen. But what we want to do is be very careful how we're participating with that. And that's part of why AI suddenly feels like it's everywhere, because it is. Again, it feels less like using software and more like having that conversation. But here's the important part to remember. AI can stimulate a conversation, but it cannot replace that human relationship. And as you recall, last week we were speaking about community and human connection, and that brings me to something that's fascinating about this week, where you guys are going to be talking about the Rosetta effect here shortly. Researchers have suddenly been studying this town of Rosetta here in Pennsylvania, actually, that one of the biggest factors contributing to residents' health and longevity wasn't the technology, medicine, or wealth, it's community. People knew each other, they gathered together, right? They support one another, they feel connected. And that's the important reminder that we are all here as we enter the AI age. Technology can help us communicate, it can help us learn, and it can help us solve those problems. But it's not going to replace our friendships, our family, our community, or that human connection. And we all need that, truthfully. So don't be afraid, just be aware. And remember, the goal isn't to avoid technology, it's to understand it, ask the right questions, use it thoughtfully, and remembering that technology works better when it supports the human relationship versus thinking about how it can replace us. AI will help you write that email, but it can't attend to that baseball game that you want to go to. AI can suggest a recipe. Again, it's not going to get up and cook it for you or be able to sit down with your friends and share that meal. It can create that and it cannot create that genuine belonging. So this week, I want you to pay attention to where AI shows up in your daily life. Maybe it's in maps, recommendations, a spam filter, or even your own phone keyboard. And while you think about it, think about the Rosetta effect, which is, again, I know you're going to be talking about this in this next segment, but use technology to stay connected, learn, and communicate. But don't forget to invest in relationships and communities that make life meaningful. As we move into this AI future, AI is going to become more and more prevalent, and we are not able to stop it, and it will force us to become part of it. So we need those human connections to stay active, to stay participatory in our community, and to make sure that we have a democratic space where people can communicate and have the pieces that they need to feel like we're still human. So with that being said, today's tech tip of AI isn't sound about, again, that panic mode. It's something that we are here to understand. And as technology continues to evolve, let's remember that some of the most powerful things in life still cannot be automated. Community, connection, and most importantly, let's just care for one another.
Well, Shelley Wolf, I thank you for those really, really insightful tips. And I'm watching the board here, and I think you may have a call on the line, which we're going to put on. So anyways, and we're going to put Howard from Kingston on the line. Welcome. Thank you for calling in.
Uh-oh.
Howard.
There's AI working on me right now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Howard?
What I would like to say is this.
Howard, you're on the line. Go ahead. Thank you.
We talk about AI. I saw this movie called Space Odyssey 2001. And HAL 9000 was getting rid of all the humans because they do errors. It was programmed to eliminate error. And I think that really we ought to be afraid of AI. And if you ever watch that movie, Space Odyssey 2001, Dave, what are you doing, Dave? Let somebody know about that, please. And that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you, Howard, on that. Shelley, do you care to respond on that? Shelley, you're still on.
I didn't really hear the full question. I do apologize. I do know he was talking about 2001, The Space Odyssey, and the idea that Stanley Kubrick's film was really about trying to eliminate the human connection or the human crew.
No, human error.
But I did not hear the rest of it. The question, I didn't hear the specific question.
Human error.
Human
error.
And it was designed to eliminate human error. So there was one guy left on that spaceship who understood what was going on. Yes, my opinion, AI is dangerous. And that's all I can say about that.
Yeah, no, I think you have some valid points. It can be very dangerous. Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's why we want to try to give you the tools to make sure that we are being cognizant and folks who are questioning AI. And so just like yourself bringing this up, we need to be questioning AI. How does it play a role in our lives? How can we be participatory in it so it does not become dangerous? Because yes, it could very quickly evolve into a dangerous place.
Yes, it has evolved, and it knows too much and it thinks too much. But that's just my opinion.
Well, Howard,
we appreciate that.
Thank you for my moment in glory.
Howard from Kingston, I thank you for listening in, and just to echo what Shelley said, you bring some very valid points in, and thank you for being a listener to Paul Ponder's radio show. Appreciate it.
I love it.
Have a great day. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Howard from Kingston. And Shelley Wolf, thank you. And I just I know we have about another minute or so before we get your contact information. But I just wanted to also mention that I have received a phone call or two from someone on the North Shore who was having some issues with billable hours presented by an attorney. The attorney was actually citing cases that really did not exist and actually turned the case sideways, if you will, and it got tossed out of court because the attorney was, in fact, rebuked for using AI and citing false cases. And, it's one of those things that, do you think that's become a common occurrence in the legal profession, whatever, and also billing for like hundreds of hours? And really the answer was provided in about like 30 seconds?
Yeah. No, I mean, again, that goes part to that dangerous side of things, right? People are utilizing it and not really questioning it. And that's where what I'll call our critical thinking skills, our media literacy skills, and digital literacy skills have to come into play. And that is going to be so essential that we have conversations. We question our research, right? We can't just type something in and say, oh, this is the research, and go with it. Like, we really got to dig deep and really understand. So especially from a legal case, right? Like, you need to make sure that you're really researching it, making sure you can cite where the information's coming from, be able to cite those past legal cases, and not just be reliant on an AI tool. Again, there's nothing wrong with maybe asking it a question and maybe asking where to go figure out where the information is coming from, but again, that's where you want to be able to use it possibly as a conversational tool and not as the main tool for that, because, again, it can have detrimental value. So, I again appreciate you bringing that up. I appreciate Howard listening and bringing up his concerns because, again, it can have real potential for danger, and we are already there. And I think that's why I wanted to bring this forward, because it's so important that we are really having these critical conversations about how we are using it and how we're moving it forward, because it's moving so fast and no one has control under it right now. And you have schools using it, lawyers using it, as you say, cases that might be interrupted. So, it also becomes then at that point also us as consumers or, say, a client with somebody really being able to be understanding what questions we need to be asking and not just reliant on whatever maybe our lawyer says or whatever someone says. It's just, are we questioning what we're being told? AI carries a lot of bias. We'll go into that over the weeks coming, and, that is one piece, right? We don't want to erasing history. We don't want to not having the information that's out there, and especially with young kids, we talk about, there's folks, right, that have grown up and we started with paper and pen, and we have now kids who are what you call digital natives, and they're not even starting with pen and paper. They're starting with a device in their hands. And now we have generations that are starting just as AI. They will know nothing different than AI. So that's where a dangerous part comes in, where history can be erased, and we do not want to erase that. We've already seen some generations that are already kind of living in the bedrooms, right? And playing video games and those sorts of things, which are all wonderful. But at the same token, we have to challenge that human connection and bringing it back out. So why it's so important to be part of the arts and to be out in our communities, and again, just having those human connections, because that's what makes us be able to survive. We need human touch. We need human conversations. So.
Without a doubt. Well, Shelley Wolf, thank you so much. And how do our listeners in Paul Ponders land get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can reach us at info@podproentertainment.com.
Well, that's fabulous. And I'm going to have to speak to Techie Talonzo about maybe if my caller from the North Shore is listening, if you want to call me, you don't have to give your name. Maybe we could do a segregated podcast on Paul Ponders on that, on the experiences of AI, and maybe we should parallel that. So we'll speak to you on Techie Talonzo. We'll grab him we'll take him away from doing all those great reels he's doing and all that good stuff. And so safe travel, Shelley Wolf. I thank you, and you enjoy the rest of the day, okay?
Very good. Thank you. Have a great rest of the show, and thank you to our listeners.
You got it. #Indeed.
#Imagine.
Thanks, Shelley. Well, as Arthur Boyle says, it's not time to make the donuts. It's time to pay some bills. So let's hear from our sponsors.
Have you tried Bryantville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857.
Are you looking for fencing and outdoor products? Look no further than Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus. When owner Mike Payne's customers have been asked why they chose Northeastern Fence, many said that there were 3 deciding factors: customer respect, excellent customer service, and quality products. I say that you need to add in 70-plus years of a family-run business with truly experienced sales and installation teams. So if you are in the market for fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors, please call Mike Payne and his crew at 781-233-3324 or email mike@northeasternfence.com. What is your home doing to your health? How is the air quality in your home? You can breathe easier with Environmental Resources, an indoor air quality company you can count on, providing healthy solutions for your home or business. Environmental Resources specializes in mold inspections and testing for toxic type molds, mold removal assessments, musty odors, allergens, and excess moisture and dampness. Environmental Resources is a locally owned and established business for over 23 years, located in Hanover, Route 53. Call Environmental Resources today for solutions for a healthy home and healthy people. No mold, no allergens, no indoor pollution. Environmental Resources, 781-248-9975 at airenvironments.com. Again, that's Environmental Resources, 781-248-9975, airenvironments.com for better health. Andy Provatola.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
We are back, and thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD, presented by Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus, where they have fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors. The call-in number and text-in number, if you're like Howard from Kingston, you'll find us at 781-837-4900, and you could also find us on the Odyssey app. If you like my daughter Ann in California, Chef Felipe at Pearl Street Station Restaurant, you're listening on the Odyssey app. And a shout-out to all those nonprofits out there. We'll go into that later. But at this point of the program, I want to go to the segment that's so popular as well. It's the Health and Wellness Survival Tips segment with Miss Sharon Filiar. Sharon.
How are you?
I am doing well, thanks. Nice to hear your voice. Hope all is well.
It is. So today's topic actually dovetails very well with Shelley's conversation about AI and the need for human interaction. So today's topic is the Rosetto study. And just to, as always, I like to preface, these sources contributed to today's discussion from the Cleveland Clinic, Harvard Health, naturalscience.org, the American Journal of Public Health, National Geographic, and the National Institute on Aging. So the Rosetto study is a longitudinal study over 50 years of the effects of human interaction and cardiovascular health. That's fascinating, right?
Absolutely.
So in 1961, a town doctor called Dr. Benjamin Falcone, he was the town physician for this town of Rosetto, Pennsylvania. He said, people aren't getting sick. They aren't having heart attacks. Everyone's pretty healthy, living a long time. What's going on? Now, this is a very small sample group. Roseto, Pennsylvania at the time had a population of about 1,400 people. But what was interesting about Roseto, Pennsylvania, was that it was a culturally homogenous population. In 1882, immigrants from southern Italy, they immigrated to Roseto, Pennsylvania, kind of set up shop and had their families there and everything. So Dr. Falcone talked to his friend, Dr. Wolf from the University of Oklahoma, and said, hey, I think we have something here. We're finding that in the surrounding areas of Bangor, Pennsylvania, Nazareth, Pennsylvania, the numbers are coming in a lot lower for heart attacks and diabetes, obesity. What's going on? So Dr. Wolf and his colleagues, and I'm just going to name them because they really should be mentioned, Barbara Egolf, Judith Lasker from the Center for Social Research, Lehigh, Pennsylvania. Of course, Dr. Wolf, who was actually working with Tots Gap Medical Laboratory in Bangor, Dr. Louise Potvin from the University of Montreal Medical School in Montreal, all got together and they went back from 1961 to 1935 and started studying death certificates. How old were people? How old was the average mortality rate? And what were people dying from? This study, they studied from 1935 to 1985. And again, what they noticed was a marked decrease in myocardial infarctions, or what are known as heart attacks. Now, what's interesting and quite paradoxical are that these people ate a lot of fat. They drank alcohol. They smoked. They did a whole bunch of stuff. And they're saying, what the gosh golly heck is going on? The one thing that was different was this intense social interaction. Families, multi-generational family living, community groups, church was very, very strong. And what they noticed was, now this is getting a little bit off topic, but there is a downregulation of something called cortisol. Cortisol is the hormone that is released in fight or flight. So when you get upset or if you're under stress, cortisol is actually released. And this upregulates the inflammatory response, blood pressure, makes you more prone to diabetes, heart attacks, and so on. So what they found was simply by interacting and having close familial bonds, having people who love you, people who care about you, adds to your longevity and quality of life. And that's something. So you got to get close to your family, Paul. Got to get closer to them. Move them in.
There you go. That's it.
So the National Geographic and the National Institutes of Aging did a study of something called blue zones. Have you ever heard of blue zones?
I have not.
You may have. Okay, blue zones are areas of the world where people exceed normal life expectancy and many living to 100 plus years of age. So I'm going to mention the different blue zones. There are just a few of them. Loma Linda, California, Sardinia, Italy, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Ikaria, Greece, and Okinawa, Japan. So what they found is these people have better quality of life. They live longer. Now, this is based on, they have plant diets, lower stress, lower depressive rates, all these indices, but also strong family, social interaction. So what they extrapolated from this study, so getting back to the Roseto study, it ended in 1985. The paper was submitted to the American Journal of Public Health in 1991. So what they've extrapolated is that when people kind of reach outside of themselves and interact with others, stay moving, exercise, all these kind of common sense things, this reduces the effects of cardiovascular disease. Now, there was a famous philosopher called Rene Descartes. Mm-hmm. He was in the 17th century, and he said, the mind-body dynamic is that they're both separate. That's not so accurate. Physiological health and mental health are intertwined, very much so, because you're looking again at this downregulation of this cortisol, which induces this kind of fight or flight. Now, there are different types of stress. There is traumatic stress and acute stress that can happen, say, if you witness a car accident, something like that. Chronic stress is linked to things like poverty. People that are under constant threat of violence, maybe being evicted, food insecurity. So those things can also contribute to diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular changes. And so what I would tell your listeners is that look to join groups that foster positive communication, book clubs, choral groups, if you like to sing, if you like to exercise, if you like to run, if you like to bike, you join a bike club. All of these things help and kind of go parallel to this wonderful, wonderful study starting in 1935 when they went back and they did it through 1985 to really determine and really have significant data that underscores human interaction and heart health affects longevity, your mortality, and your overall physicality.
Wow. That is awesome, awesome, awesome. As always, Sharon, I thank you for these really great, insightful tips. And how do our listeners in Paul Ponders Land get in touch with you?
Well, they can always contact me through you, or you can get me through the Fill-Your Fall Prevention Method. So I'd like to also mention that there is much more to unpack with this type of analysis, and hopefully I can do a part 2.
Absolutely.
Specifically, there's Dr. Marty Seligman out of the University of Pennsylvania, wonderful man. He did very, very germane work on depression and learned helplessness, so that when someone feels as though there is no solution, there's nothing they can do, this leads to depression. Conversely, if someone has a solution, you can also learn optimism. And so going along with what Shelley said, in light of our kind of social media, electronic isolation, this can be very detrimental down the line, and AI keys into that. So it's a subject that I think warrants delving further.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And when you mentioned Descartes, I'm just thinking of he was such a great philosopher, and he always talked about the mind and the body, and the importance of the mind. And hopefully, we're not putting the horse before Descartes.
Right. Everything in the human body overlaps. Mm-hmm. So, say if you have a hip issue, it can affect your foot, right? If you have a tight back, it can cause headaches. So everything is intertwined. There is no kind of demarcation in the case of the mind, the body. It all works together. Having loving relationships is the foundation of good health. And there's also something called kangaroo care. So when babies are born premature, what they found is that when they have daddy come in and they place the infant on daddy's bare chest, this fosters the child to thrive. So there are many, many studies that I've actually looked at that actually kind of underscore this need for human interaction that helps us to live and to thrive and to have quality of life. So loving others and interaction is really essential to just being happy.
Absolutely. Well, Sharon Filia, I thank you. I thank you so much. And for our listeners out there, just check out Sharon's YouTube, the Filia Fall Prevention Method. And hopefully maybe next week we could get to part 2 of your wonderful discussion.
Oh, there is so much to unpack about this.
I know it.
Yeah, but thank you so much, and thank you to your listeners.
You got it. Sharon Filliot, thank you so much, and be well.
Okay, be well. Thank you so much.
Catch up soon. Thank you. Bye-bye now. Now let's hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be hearing from Paul Crowley from Riverworks Credit Union.
Have you tried Bryantville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fried dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857.
Are you looking for fencing and outdoor products? Look no further than Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus. When owner Mike Payne's customers have been asked why they chose Northeastern Fence, many said that there were 3 deciding factors: customer respect, excellent customer service, and quality products. I say that you need to add in 70-plus years of a family-run business with truly experienced sales and installation teams. So if you are in the market for fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors, please call Mike Payne and his crew at 781-233-3324 or email Mike at northeasternfence.com. What is your home doing to your health? How is the air quality in your home? You can breathe easier with Environmental Resources, an indoor air quality company you can count on, providing healthy solutions for your home or business. Environmental Resources specializes in mold inspections and testing for toxic type molds, mold removal assessments, musty odors, allergens, and excess moisture and dampness. Environmental Resources is a locally owned and established business for over 23 years, located in Hanover, Route 53. Call Environmental Resources today for solutions for a healthy home and healthy people. No mold, no allergens, no indoor pollution. Environmental Resources, 781-248-9975 at airenvironments.com. Again, that's Environmental Resources, 781-248-9975, airenvironments.com for better health. Andy Provatola.
The answer is more in
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
We are back, and thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. Sort of like that that catchy music to behind the glass.
Yeah, it is. It's good.
It is nice. Absolutely. Yeah. It's nice to break up the mood a bit. That's good. Thank you, Jazzy. Before we get Paul Crowley on the line, I just wanted to do a quick shout-out. National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame is having its Comedy Education Awards Comedy Night next Thursday night at the Prince Pizza House, and we have a great lineup. Dave Russo, comedian Dave Russo, who is on our board, will be sailing and traveling on his cruise ships, but it's one of those things that he got Johnny Pizzi, our friend Johnny Pizzi, to be the master of ceremonies for this great comedy night. And we have Paul D'Angelo, we got Frank Santarelli from The Sopranos, and Artie, the pharmacist Januario. So we have a great lineup planned. And for any tickets, you could reach out to me at paul@paulponders.com for the National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame. And also to just a quick shout out again to the cast of Frankie and Johnny, Claire De Luna. They're opening on June 19th at the Boston Center for the Arts, Black Box Theater. I did a podcast with Wendy Lippy from the Psych Drama Company and Cliff Blake the other night, and they're excited about the show coming up on June 19th, and you heard them last week on the show live. We did a podcast, and that's going to be dropping in about a week and a half on Paul Ponders. So I mentioned the comedy night and Riverworks Credit Union from Lynn is in fact a sponsor. So let's bring us to the segment. Thank you for waiting, Mr. Paul Crowley, representing Riverworks Credit Union, NMLS number 410564, and you also work alongside Olympian and former Boston Bruins winger Dave Jensen, senior loan officer. Bring it on, Paul Crowley. How are you?
Hey, Paul. Good to talk to you. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. We've had a really busy show. We've been talking, I don't know if you've heard much of the show, but it's really evolved around human relationships and really just getting along, and what you do in banking, what you've done over your career, meeting and working with so many individuals, is really handling their financial health and their well-being. And your role at Riverworks Credit Union is really so cool, and that you get to meet so many interesting people who are in fact looking to attain their dreams and all. So that's pretty much what I got. You take it away, my friend, in the time we have, in the 6 minutes we have or so, about banking and human relationships.
Okay, so from a banking perspective, I'm always, as most of your listeners are as well, very sensitive to news about the impact the macroeconomic environment has on interest rates. And as most people who check the stock market know, we had a pretty significant sell-off on Friday, and I would refer to that as a flight to quality, where everybody was, not everybody, but a lot of people were getting out of the tech stocks and the stocks that have been growing crazily over the past year plus, or actually years, I should say. And they moved into more quality stocks like dividend-paying stocks and so forth. If you notice, the NASDAQ was down 4%, but the Dow Jones Industrial Average was only down 1%. So that kind of shows that the people were leaving the technology stocks, going into quality stocks, but also moving into treasuries, which is a little bit counterintuitive, because you would think that if people were moving into treasuries and the value of those treasuries was going up, that the interest rates would be going down. That didn't really happen this time. That, coupled with a very strong jobs report on Friday, has people, I think, afraid, the investment world afraid, that the Fed is not going to lower interest rates anytime soon, and it's possible that they might raise interest rates now. So that caused the 2-year Treasury, which is a bellwether for mortgage rates, to go up from 440 basis points to 455 basis points or so. So once again, and I haven't been able to provide much good news on your show, Paul, but you got to keep waiting it out, and interest rates are at least stuck where they are, and possibly going up with the Fed meeting, not this week, I think the following week, June 16th, I think it is. So, we're kind of stuck on that. Now, to tie that in with the human element and good health and all that kind of stuff, when somebody's looking to try to buy a house and they're very sensitive to the interest rates, and interest rates don't go down, or even worse, they go up, it puts a lot of stress on people. And your previous guest was speaking to those elements that lead to stress in people's lives, and finances is certainly one of those things. And you've got to always be grounded when it comes to that type of stuff. Recognize when things aren't going well, but also recognize that most of it is temporary.
Absolutely. And if you think about the checklist that all banks and credit unions will ask for, okay, you need a VOE, you need a VOR, you need verification of this, a verification of that. That's pretty stressful. You need 3 years worth. You got to get this. You have to whatever. It's stressful, isn't it?
Yes. In fact, I give you a little anecdote. I've been working on a loan. I have a client who's moving from California back to Massachusetts. So she sold a house and she's buying a house here. And she closed on her house yesterday in California. And she and her 4 dogs hopped in the car and headed east. And while she was heading east, I had to call her and tell her we needed information that we didn't have, and she wasn't really in any position to do anything about it. And it was, those types of things can stress you out under any circumstances. But when she was driving through the desert in southeastern California, the temperature's well in excess of 100 degrees. She was in no position to pull over, let the dog sit in the car, and go into the bank and resolve her. So anyway, we worked it all out, but for a period of time, it was very stressful. And
it's the last thing she wanted to hear on Route 66, huh?
yes, that would be right up there with the last thing she'd want to hear, right? Yeah.
Well, Paul,
but anyway, it all worked out and everything's good. Absolutely.
Before we run out of time, I do want you to give a shout out to how our listeners can contact you at Riverworks Credit Union.
Oh, sure. So if you wanted to call the main number, you can just look it up on the internet, I suppose. But if you wanted to call me directly, my number is 781-513-3721. And pretty much available all the time. If you call and I don't answer it, might be because I didn't recognize the number, and if you can just leave me a message, I'll surely get back to you, and hopefully we can help you with your financing needs.
Well, thank you, my friend, and I thank you for being just a strong advocate and a very important part of this financial wing of Olympic Proportion, sponsored by PS&L Marketing Group in Riverworks Credit Union. So, Paul Crowley, hopefully we'll chat with you next week. Be well, my friend.
You too, Paul. Take care.
Thank you, and have a great weekend. Well, I want our listeners to stay tuned to WATD with the memories with Ron Dwyer. Ron, you are a grand poobah of musical memories. Listeners can go to paulponders.com to find subscription links. And also, too, I want to give a quick shout-out to my dear friend, Jordan Rich, who is celebrating a birthday today on D-Day. Happy D-Day. But a shout-out to Jordan Rich, and congratulations on your selection and induction into the Massachusetts Broadcasters Hall of Fame. Jordan will be in touch if you're listening out there. Thank you for everything. And thanks again to Tim, Martha, Shelley, Sharon, Paul Crowley, and our advertisers. But really, thank you, listeners in WATD world and beyond. Here's to a continued great season. Keep Paul pondering. #Indeed.